Okay, I believe we are live. City of Moose Jaw, welcome to the media briefing here on March 27th. I'm Craig Hemingway, Communications Manager. We appreciate you joining in from wherever you're watching here today. We've got our Mayor, Fraser Tolmie, our City Manager, Jim Pufalt, and also on the line we have media representation from Discover Moose Jaw Today, Global News, and CKRM. So we thank everybody for being a part of this briefing today. We wanted to give an update on status of services and operations in the City of Moose Jaw. We'll begin with statements by Mayor Tolmie and City Manager Mr. Pufalt, followed by questions from the media. So Mayor Tolmie, the microphone is all yours.
Thank you, Craig. Good morning, and thank you for joining us here today, virtually. As we have mentioned in previous statements, we want to do our best to keep our residents of Moose Jaw informed of the changes that are being implemented due to the COVID-19 pandemic. City Council met on Monday night. It was the first council meeting where councillors participated virtually. That means Moose Jaw was one of the first in the province to conduct business in this format. We have to recognize that the world is changing and we have to adapt. This may occur again, and we need to respect those who wish to protect their family members by reducing the risk of contact. As the mayor and chair of the City Mayor's Caucus, we have been having daily meetings with the province. Further, the City Mayor's Caucus is also having conference calls every second day to allow for cities to dialogue with each other. This has enabled our communities a platform to share ideas as we all face a common problem. During this time, we must recognize that healthcare falls under federal and provincial jurisdiction. We have been in communication with local doctors and medical officials, making sure that there is an open dialogue between them and City Hall. I appreciate the efforts of this community who are respecting the recommendations of self-isolating, maintaining social distancing, and maintaining a positive attitude. We continue to chart unknown territory, and I will repeat what I have said before. We will get through this. With that, I'd like to hand it over to the City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Tolmie. We want to confirm that all essential emergency services are being continued and maintained. We're glad to report our staff are generally healthy. We're experiencing really not a whole lot different than a normal routine for us with people away sick and and childcare issues. So we're really not having major issues affected by that. We want to thank our staff at this time for their work over the past 2 weeks. We really think we've come to kind of a new normal and for our operations. And so we're glad to see that. As you can imagine, daily changes are a little tough on people. So we want to thank our staff to be able to work through that. Our emergency measures organization meets daily to review issues and changes that are coming down from the province as well as internally. And we're making changes in a rapid yet measured response to ensure that we're maintaining safety of staff and the city. We are looking to complete some transit changes. I think we maybe have mentioned that our ridership has dropped right off, and we're coming practically to a point that it doesn't make any sense to drive vacant, empty buses around the city. And so we think we've come up with a really good solution to be able to maintain service, actually increase service to some degree, and still be able to provide what people need. And that's always our intent with all of our services. We can say that the essential services that are maintained are the utilities, water and sewer, transit, waste collection, disposal, and recycling, road construction and maintenance, and of course, all the support that comes along with that, cemeteries, and parks and trail maintenance. We've seen with the weather turning nice that we have a lot of people out on the trails, maintaining their social distance, we trust, but waste is starting to accumulate out there, so we need to keep people up there. And of course, cemeteries are an important feature at this time, unfortunately. And if I could, I would like to thank a few people that I've seen around, healthcare workers, certainly grocery store workers, our people that are providing the essential water and sewer services. The Chamber of Commerce has really stepped up, and we're in daily communication with them to try and make sure that we can communicate to the public which businesses are open, who is providing services. So we want to thank Rob Clark and the rest of the Chamber for all their work and the local businesses that are continuing to provide service. And I think one group that kind of flies under the radar is Buffalo Pound Water Treatment Plant. They are continuing. They have a great contingency plan in place. They're continuing to provide service, and we want to thank them for that. Without them, we're all in a tough spot, and certainly they are out there and providing the service to us. So we can't thank them enough. With that, would be glad to take any questions.
Beginning with Discover Moose Jaw.
Okay, I have a question for, well, I guess both of you, but we'll start with Mayor Tolney. So, a lot of people that I know, and me as well, are wondering what the city's next steps are in regards to the pandemic. I'm not sure what's happening next, so if you could expand on that, I'd appreciate it.
Could you clarify? I mean, as I've said, we're charting in unknown territory. So I just trying to understand the context of your question.
So in regards to social distancing, I know, well, the Prime Minister said it, provincial government said it, the city said it, health professionals have said it, almost everybody has said it. But I've noticed around town there are still some people who are not getting the memo. So is there anything being put in place to maybe enforce that a little bit better?
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier on, that healthcare falls under both federal and provincial. Obviously, Sask Health is the one that is in constant communication with the province. With that being said, we have been, through our mediums, been trying to encourage everyone to adhere to those recommendations. And as you are aware, the recommendations have changed from public gatherings, and that number has been reduced. One of the things that we have done through our communications with the province on a daily basis now is to be able to reduce what their announcements are to us to be able to implement them. And so, when they made an announcement, say on Monday, it takes us 24 hours to implement that. And so that would probably come in effect on a Wednesday. And so now we're being able to reduce that time and that communication gap so that cities across Saskatchewan will be able to implement measures, if they change or increase, quicker.
Okay, all right, good to know. Next question. Okay, to be totally honest with you, I only have one question.
Well, that's good.
All right.
We'll circle around.
Global, you're up next.
Expand a bit on what's actually happening at this time, sort of if you have any of that information, like how many people are actually keeping that facility going? Are they at full staff still during this time?
Well, it's certainly talking to Buffalo Pound would probably be the best option as to their contingency plans. I had communications with the general manager over the past 3 days. And they are ensuring, my understanding is they're ensuring that they have operators available. They're maintaining social distancing and shift changes. And so I think that they are ensuring that they have at least half the operators on at a time. They haven't experienced any issues at this time. But again, talking to the general manager there would probably be the best way to get an answer. It's just, I think that to me, it was important that we communicate to the public and express our thanks to them. They are also absolutely an essential service. Without water, we can't do a whole bunch. And so we wanted to make sure that they were aware that we were thinking of them and able to provide any assistance that we could.
Certainly, thank you for that. And then second to it, on the city side, have you noticed, and it might be too early, but has there been any increase in residential water use during the time, whether it's because people are staying home more or perhaps washing, cleaning more, anything like that?
I don't think we have data that we can provide at this time. We know from observation that, again, there's a lot more people at home, but we're also seeing that, for example, our pool is shut down. So water usage, I don't believe that we can differentiate that much between residential and commercial, and we don't have the data at this time. The other thing we're noticing is an increase in waste collection just because of more people being at home. So we don't have the data, but yeah, we expect that that's what's occurring.
And on the increase in waste collection, I know this is my third question here. Are you able to, or is there any discussions at this time to potentially increase the frequency of waste collection at this time?
Yeah, we talked about that probably last Friday or so, and so we want to get some data to prove that the figures are there, because right now it's it's basically observation. So we want to see the data to determine that if it's necessary, and so we're ready for that if it comes to it, and we'll monitor for another week or so.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Moose Jaw Today.
Hi, this is Jason with the Moose Jaw Today. Just wondering, for last Monday night's council meeting, 3 councillors attended by video link. Just wondering if this is acceptable and if this actually adds to quorum.
Absolutely. The councillors who participated by link, we have had the ability in the past to have councillors call in via conference calls. So what we've done is actually improved the service to actually implement video. And so we've had our IT department working diligently on providing Teams, which is a Microsoft software that we use here in Moose Jaw, the city of Moose Jaw. And so the councillors were able to conduct business. And again, we've had to adapt, and this will probably be happening in our next meeting.
After your executive committee, you came out and you voted on a motion to continue with phase 5 in front of 2 particular streets. Just wondering why you had to vote on phase 5 for those locations when this project is already approved.
You know what? This was a report that was brought before council. It was for reconsideration, and council voted on that after it came out of executive.
Okay. So I guess just wondering then, with the way the pandemic is basically destroying the business community, why not change the location of phase 5 for those 2 particular streets, especially in front of the casino and then on High Street? Wouldn't it be much easier on the business community to maybe look at working in front of schools?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. So basically, just wondering, has there been any thought given to changing the location of parts of phase 5 for the cast iron? Instead of digging up, High Street and Fairford Street in front of major businesses, why not dig up other streets such as in front of schools, which will be open until September?
Well, we've had this discussion numerous times that this project is 30 years behind. And this particular area is a high breakage area. And that part of the issue that we have is that part of Main Street part of High Street has already been done. And so you're taking new water lines and then you're abutting them against very old cast iron. And, again, if a break happens, then you are impacting those businesses. The plan that we have to move forward, and yes, things are changing and we may have to relook at that, but we have to have our RFPs in place and be prepared. And if that changes, and we do move forward, then what will happen is that we have a plan in place to not repeat the same issues that we had the last time on High Street. We have made this clear to the media and to the public that we will be keeping them very well informed, that this will be done in sections, and that we will be ensuring that there is access during those times of areas that are getting addressed. Thank you.
All right, CKRM.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Yesterday, Regina announced that they're going to have to lay off hundreds of seasonal casual employees. Is Moose Jaw in that same position, or does that mean it's not?
Yeah, that was a decision we made last week when we closed facilities. Most of our casuals and part-times work in those areas. And so with the facilities closed, unfortunately, we couldn't provide work for them. So that was done. They were laid off last Sunday.
Okay, and what is being done? Are you guys still carrying on with your transit system? I know obviously ridership has been low, but what are you guys doing when it comes to that?
Well, we implemented last week, again, in consultation with our drivers, extra security measures to provide, extra health measures to provide distance between the drivers and the passengers. And as we spoke, transit ridership has dropped right down, but there's still people using it, and it's still an essential service. So we're being practical in our approach, and we'll be announcing later today some changes that we think will help people to some degree, while ensuring that we're not running empty buses around the city. So we're actually looking at a dial bus service before about 9 o'clock in the morning, run regular transit from 9 to 5, and then dial a bus after 5, because the ridership between those times is not there at all.
I think that's all. Yeah, that's all the questions I have. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go any follow-ups. Discover Moose Jaw.
None for me. I'm all good. Thank you.
Okay, Global.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up actually on one of the questions about the casual and part-time workers. How many were laid off because of those closures?
I think it was around 60. I don't have the figures with me, but it was around 60 employees.
Okay, thank you. And then we are also speaking with some of the emergency folks here in Regina today. So we also, and I know you touched on it in your comments as well, City Manager, in regards to how things are going for your workers at this time. Can you just expand on that? Are there any challenges that perhaps the public could help with or help mitigate in any way? Anything we should know?
Well, certainly we have to maintain separation, and so we're bringing more vehicles to sites when we're working. And so again, we communicated locally last week that if you see more vehicles on site, it's because we're trying to maintain the distances, and we're doing, again, we're using our other resources to ensure we can do that. That's probably the biggest thing. We found that generally the public has been outstanding. They are not, when they're calling, it's about a serious issue, and we appreciate the public in this. We know it's a scary time for everybody, us included, and we can't thank the public enough. They've been most understanding and reasonable, and we appreciate them very much.
And then lastly, I think I have one more. Just in terms of the healthcare side of things, how is the City of Moose Jaw handling protective equipment? Are there any glaring spaces where there's a need there for more?
I can't speak for the healthcare system. I suspect, watching the media, that there are shortages across the country and North America. Locally, I can say on our behalf, on the city's behalf, we're doing okay. We want to thank the distillery in Brownlee, and I can't remember the name, I'm sorry, but they have changed their production to do hand sanitizer, and they're supplying us, so we can't thank them enough. And generally, we're seeing that the supply chain is perhaps catching up. Dribs and drabs of materials of our orders are coming in now, so we think we're in decent shape for the city-wise, and of course, we can't speak for health.
Understandable. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moose Jaw Today.
I was just, this is Jason with Moose Jaw Today. Just wondering, has anyone in city administration or city council been tested for coronavirus?
We have some testing going on, but there's been no results yet of staff.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any council members.
Do you know how many people or how many of your staff took tests?
That I don't know. Nope. But sorry, I do know. I believe it's 2.
2 people tested?
Yes.
As for council, you would have to ask them. I haven't been tested for coronavirus. I have no symptoms. I have no symptoms and I have not been tested.
We can say it's same for.
On Monday, it appears that the province recommended that all playgrounds and things like that be shut down. It looks as if Moose Jaw made the decision to do that on Wednesday. Is that just sort of the 24-hour effect of getting things implemented?
Well, as I had clearly stated before, the province made the announcement at 2:30, and this is why we find that it's important for the province to be able to communicate with the cities so that we understand what they're doing and that we have advanced warning. And so that is now taken place, and we're trying to reduce the time sequence so that we can actually get the message out to our community. So we found out, obviously Monday afternoon, and then made the announcement so that it would be implemented for Wednesday. So yeah, absolutely, that's what happened, and we're looking to reduce that communication gap and to be able to have an open dialogue with the province. It's also an opportunity for us to be able to share some of the issues going on in our communities and to inform the province of our concerns of measures that we feel that might need to be taken, and for them to take that under advisement. And we have seen some recent changes where the numbers have reduced in social gatherings. So we are playing a role and an impact in helping in the decision-making process.
And if I could,
the city of Moose Jaw plan to, I guess, put barriers, fences, tape around playgrounds and things like that to keep them off limits?
the signage is going up if it's not already, and it's actually playground equipment itself. We encourage people to get out, maintain social distance. The parks are open for walking and that type of thing, but it's the playground equipment that we can't continually disinfect. So it's actually just playground equipment. Playgrounds are open for walking and as long as you maintain social distance.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anything else, CKRM?
Yeah, just one a follow-up, I guess. We've seen testing and assessment sites open up in PA, Saskatoon, and Regina. Has there been any discussion between city and the SHA about the possibility of a testing or an assessment site being built in Moose Jaw?
I think you would have to talk to SHA about that.
Okay. Is the city hoping for a testing or an assessment site?
Well, certainly we want to ensure that our residents have all the services that are possible. And we would certainly encourage Saskatchewan Health to ensure that our residents receive the same service everybody else does.
That's all I have. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for calling in.
Okay, I believe that's the end of it, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate all you dialing in today, and I appreciate everybody watching. And for the I'll throw it to Fraser Tolmie, our mayor, for the final word.
Yeah, I'd just like to finish off and say thank you very much for joining us today via this new platform. I'd like to thank the city manager and all the frontline staff throughout our community that are working during this time and ensuring that we have essential services. That being said, I want to also thank our councillors for being able to dialogue with the citizens and relay information. And also just thank the frontline healthcare workers at this time. They're doing an amazing job. They're under a lot of stress, and they really, truly do deserve the respect for the job that they're doing. And I want to say thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you all.